Hi, everyone. We are here for another interview today. We are here with Sarah Lascano, and she's the owner of Raise and Energy. And this whole process of getting to know holistic health practitioners is a wonderful way for us to be able to tap into different type of modalities and just to experience for ourselves how other people are navigating this industry. So Sarah, thank you for joining me today. And why don't we start with you talking a little bit about Raise and Energy and what specific modality you practice?
Thank you, Laura, for having me here. It's wonderful to be here. I'm Sarah Lascano. I practice energy medicine and medical intuition. So I tune into the body and find where it is stuck and what it needs to be able to heal. I typically work with people who have tried everything, who have physical problems where they have not been able to find solutions. And I'm typically able to get them solutions, to get them healing and on their way to wellness. I started off as a body talk practitioner way back in my beginnings and have since evolved into my own modality using light work. And that means I visualize energy, I see energy, I feel energy, and I move energy to help people get unstuck, whether it's in the physical body. So frequently I'll be working in an organ or even a hormone or a system. Sometimes I'm working with thoughts or emotions, and sometimes I'm even working with spiritual types of energies or more like shamanic work where maybe there's an old relationship from the past that is still hooked into someone and affecting them either from betrayal or mistrust or sadness or a loss. So I work with all of these different levels. I see the body as an amazing machine that knows how to heal, and I work with the body to help it regain its ability to get unblocked to be able to heal. So, in terms of my business, I've been in business about 8 years or so. And I started off doing individual sessions for clients and got quite busy over the years and have recently made a pivot in my business that I'd be happy to chat more about.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for telling us how long you've been doing it and some of the structural frameworks. Where is your business physically located?
My business is in Winchester, Virginia. This is in the very tip, about an hour outside of the DC area, greater
Mhm.
metro area. And I work with people in person, but most of my work is actually remote and over the phone. So I do both.
I'm aware of Winchester. I think there's an inn there that I stayed at once.
It's a cute little place.
Yeah, really beautiful little area. I didn't realize we were so close. We're in Central Virginia, so many of the
Okay.
people in the community are Virginians, so in Southeastern.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, so that's perfect. And so 8 years, you started with and yes, we would like to hear about this pivot because it sounds really exciting. And congratulations about that. So you were doing working with clients on a one-to-one basis, is that correct?
Correct.
And then were they like short term, long term, or does that depend on the service?
It depends on the person and what issue they're trying to conquer and how quickly they can move through it. So if I'm working with someone with chronic strep who has horrible anxiety and is not able to work, they're going to require a little bit more sessions over a longer period of time than someone who had a car accident and is afraid to drive because they're traumatized. So those are two reasons why someone might come to me, and they're very different needs in terms of the work that needs to be done. I typically tend to work with people with chronic health issues, but I do quick hit things too, where a child stops eating all of a sudden and the mom's trying to figure out why and how to get them to eat again. That was a recent client versus someone who's been through a cancer journey and is feeling pain in that area of their body again and wants to make sure that they do everything they can to make sure it's not a recurrence of cancer. So it really just varies in terms of what the person is trying to work through.
And I'm sure you have fully developed process at this point, but how do you catch client leads and people who might be interested in your service? Do you feel like it's through your messaging at all? Is it through direct referral partnerships, previous clients?
So the majority of my like a solo entrepreneur, who gets really busy doing sessions. In the early days, I worked with holistic doctors who referred their patients to me when they were stuck. Over the last few years, everything is through word of mouth. So previous clients, previous family members of clients, people hearing about me. In the last year, I've really made a push to start marketing. So as I've pivoted my business and freed up some time for reaching out and doing some outreach, I'm starting to get more people that I have found. I do publish a weekly newsletter where I give some kind of teaching and tips on how to feel better and work with your energy and conquer health struggles and frustrations. So that is a value that I offer each week, some content. I also do a free 5-minute mini session each month. So those are kind of ways that people can sample my work and get to know me and then come into my system to see if there's something that might benefit them or appeal to them.
Well, this also sounds super valuable, and it sounds like you've a really committed, loyal community. It's been growing for some time. So I'm excited to hear about this pivot. What are you trying to, or what are you currently shifting into that's not just the single service or the one-to-one session model in your business?
So over the years, I've taught courses, but they were in something similar to Reiki. It's called integrated energy therapy, which is a lovely angelic healing tool. Very similar to how Reiki feels when you receive a session, if anyone is familiar with that modality. And I would teach those courses maybe once or twice a year. But what I recently started doing in the past year is I developed my own curriculum for teaching my own work. And so I am now certifying practitioners and people who just want to be able to do it for themselves. So I have 3 different levels of this coursework. And one is self-healing, one is going a little deeper with self-healing, and then the third is the professional training so that people can actually learn how to do this for a living in a practice. And so by teaching, teaching is really my pivot. And now I'm in the process right now, actually, of launching an online course where I will be able to teach people how to tap into their intuition to heal themselves. So I'm all about empowerment. I'm all about empowerment through knowledge, teaching people the knowledge they need to be able to heal themselves, or knowing solutions exist and that they can go find things where they may have been told there were no solutions. So I'm super excited about being able to offer courses as a way to empower people and reach more people and not have to be in that daily grind. I was doing over 90 sessions a month part-time with a part-time practice because I have small children. So it was quite grueling, and I found a way out of that. And I would encourage anyone who's in that and feeling stressed, because burnout's going to be not too far forward from that, to consider other ways to deliver your skills and your wisdom and your knowledge that can help people without burning yourself out.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a chord there. That's a very common theme, and it's a resonating theme with a lot of the people who are in my audience and in my clients. It's just something that happens. We get to a certain point of action, and we just are like, wait a minute. I call it the practitioner hamster wheel. We're just constantly moving, and we love so much. We have to, right? We have to give and give and give. But what falls through the cracks then, or what things are not happening? So in this pivot towards a more passive, I hate the word passive income, and I don't think it's quite right, because you're still very proactive. You're creating these course materials. There's so much love that's going into this. Like, you're teaching people your system, training people. That's a love right there, because there's going to be people who are then doing what you do through their own body and their own mentality, but an experience. This is just really cool. So that's very exciting. But to speak to that, what kinds of challenges, practical challenges are coming up in that transfer of energy on your part to then being able to pull this thing off and doing this new thing?
Well, that's a really great question. I mean, I'm an engineer by training, which is kind of the story of where I started, but I am not a marketer by heart. And marketing has been the number one biggest challenge for me, is to learn how to market and to find ways to balance that desire to give with the desire to really be willing to sell myself. So sales and marketing has really been my biggest challenge. The technology is always a little bit tricky, but that we can conquer with various ways. Um, it's really required me to do a lot of my own inner work, actually, to be able to stand up in online in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, and talk about my work in a very different way and help people understand how life changing it can be. It's one thing when other people refer people to you or you grow through word of mouth. You're not having to own your value and your worth in the same public way as you are when you're trying to market. So I think that can be a real tricky shift for a lot of healers, especially, and I don't know if all of your membership is healers or not, but when we are healers, there's that idea of the wounded healer, the person who's been through struggle and now they're trying to help others through some sort of struggle. And I think that's pretty real. I think a lot of us have not felt worthy of abundance or not felt confident in our gifts. Some of those energies have to be cleared so that we can really step into who we're here to be.
Well, I agree with that wholeheartedly. So what would you say would be a good first step for people who might be feeling that exactly?
Well, I generally feel that awareness is 80% of the solution. So if you're aware of feeling that way, you're definitely in front of the 8 ball. That's great. If you are not aware, you just feel restless and you're not sure what's wrong, but something's not right, I would encourage you to do some kind of introspective work, whether it's meditation or mindfulness or getting work done on yourself, and by that I mean healing work. But if you're aware of it, I think and if you feel that it's blocking you, the best thing is self-care, is finding some healers, finding friends, finding resources, self-care challenges that will help you become a little more introspective to connect with what's blocking you, or seeking out the help of a healer who can help actually move those blocks and heal the traumas or the generational threads or whatever it is that is ready to be addressed so that you can move forward with what you're here to deliver.
Well, that's great. So do you think, and you mentioned marketing is one of your challenge points. So, what about it what is the one thing maybe recently that you felt was kind of an interference for you, and how did you resolve that?
The hardest thing for me is, so I'm an engineer, as I mentioned. I love teaching. I love explaining how things work. I love teaching others. I'm not as good at conversational writing. So obviously, when we receive an email in our inbox, we're not going to want to open it if it's heavy and full of knowledge. We really want it to resonate with us, right? We want it to remind us of our own life and where we are and what we're going through. So the way to do that, I believe, is to open up and share your own reality. So if you can talk about what's happening in your own life and what you're going through and how that relates to the topic you're talking about, whether it's a frustration you had and worked through it to get to the other side, whether it's feeling overwhelmed with juggling family and work, whatever it is, if we can open up and share our reality with our list, with our community, they can see us in a whole different way, and we get our message across in a more real, more conversational manner. So that's really been my focus.
That's a really great focus, and what a great tool and process to help people understand something they can just do right away to start improving in this area, but maybe not do completely lives yet or other things virtually. An email, it's one-to-one, it's just connection. That's great. So since you've been applying this new strategy, this new focus in your business, what kind of things have been coming back at you, right? What kind of responses from potential customers, potential leads? Have there been any good success points with this yet?
Sure. I think my list is building, so that's a positive, just reinforcement that the content I'm putting out is relatable. Um, Return customers will continue to call you. So I think another gauge of success is when you send out an email. Just last week, someone sent me a note saying, every time I read your content, it speaks to me and I even feel energy moving, like I feel a different perspective. And I think that was very meaningful to me. Like that was like, wow, okay, I can keep going. This is the right direction. So these little tiny messages from the universe help us know that we're on the right path. And, I'm preparing for a new launch at the end of the month. And, that's when we'll see if all of this nurturing and the content and the value is going to help people understand what I'm offering.
I think it's a great testimonial, and it probably speaks, directly to the content that you put in, the time that you put in, and the way that you put time in to talking to people. So that's a direct result of that work. So that's great. Well, thank you so much. I feel like this has been a really great and useful conversation. And a lot of great reminders about self-care and about clearing blockages and getting to an awareness point about ourselves so that we can proceed in a really meaningful way in our businesses and perhaps grow into that next level. So I really do appreciate you coming on today. What is something that you'd like my audience to know about you if they'd like to connect with you, or you said you have a launch coming up? Is there a particular project that they should be aware of if they're compelled to action today?
I have two awesome freebies on my website that are really fun. One is a quiz that can help your body, help you know what your body is ready to shift, what energy your body's ready to address. So that's a quiz you can find on my homepage. And I have a Stress Less Mini, which is a free 10-minute mini energy healing session that balances the body and the mind when you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, can't sleep. Any of those, it's a wonderful, just an audio recording. You just listen and the healing comes right through. So those are two resources. You can find those on my homepage, raisenenergy.com.
That's wonderful, Sarah. Well, thank you so much for coming on with us today, and we'll see you in the community, if not somewhere else online. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Laura.